Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Our misery has a born-on date. It all began on this day 55 years ago, and if the villain in the movie No Country for Old Men ever asked us what is the most we have ever lost in a coin flip, Suns fans would assuredly be spared. Yes, today is the anniversary of the day we lost the right to select Lou Alcindor in the draft, a player who had wrecked the association for decades, and ironically, that loss came to the Bucks, just like the Suns' latest loss in the standings. Question is, will our misery ever have an expiration date? And that is the question, because this season seems to be spinning in a crazy direction. 14 games left, Isaiah Thomas incoming, and all that weird, funky energy the team emitted over the weekend. So I'm hoping that IT comes in like a lion, all swag and attitude, and I hope he brings an edge and an urgency to a team with an energy problem, as in a lack of energy that would normally befit a team desperately trying to avoid the play-in tournament. And I'm also hoping the latest round of intense criticism from the national media about the Suns will snap this team to attention, because that's kind of what happened last time, and the Suns responded with a shorthanded win in Denver. Either way, let's hope something sticks. Let's hope something works, because it's getting kind of late for fake motivation, desperation plays, and Hail Marys. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
Well, I think anytime you pick up a veteran of his stature on a 10-day, too, which is what it's going to be initially, I understand, you got to play him. Like, why would you do it?
Right.
Like, why would you waste his time? Like, so I imagine that he's going to get his opportunity to play and prove himself, and he will. Look, the only problem with Isaiah Thomas over the last number of years is he healthy. Like, because we know he can play. We know what he did in Boston. By the fact, we know what he did for us when he was here. So that's not an issue. The issue is the fit, and what can he bring to this team that will allow him to stick and play a huge role? Well, it's pretty obvious, guys. The turnover issue for us. Like, he is a guy that's not going to lose the ball. He's going to get it up quickly. And if you don't guard him, he's gonna destroy you. I mean, I don't care what league he's playing in. The guy can flat out score.
That's Eddie Johnson. He was on the show with us yesterday talking about what Isaiah Thomas can bring to the Suns. We'll get back into that in a second, because that is certainly happening for the Phoenix Suns. Could play tomorrow night against the Philadelphia 76ers.
So today's going to be an interesting practice for the basketball team, huh?
Yeah.
One game in.
I also, I had no idea today was the anniversary of the coin flip.
March 19th, 1969.
Yeah. Can we go back and retroactively complain about why that even took place?
Yeah. In a room with no witnesses.
The Suns were 16-66 as an expansion team. 16-66. The Bucks were 27-55. It's an 11-game difference.
Brutal.
Why did they need the help? They were on the right track.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
All due respect to the late Neil Walsh.
Yeah, it was done. It was done in a room.
Yeah.
Fancy that.
Yeah. Couldn't do that this day and age.
Even when they did the coin flip in Friday Night Lights to see who went to the playoffs, it was on television.
Yeah. Now the NBA is just freezing envelopes. So that was the beginning of it all. I mean, seriously. And then you think of everything that has kind of happened afterwards. You could make a list from now till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Going through the litany of cursed, bad luck, all that kind of stuff. And the question is going to be, is this season going to go down as one of those colossal failures? Because of the stakes, because of the expectations, because of everything that's attached with this group. Jarrett brought up a really a sobering thought earlier, and the question is going to be, if the Suns don't pull this off and don't get on a higher plane, is this big three really working together? Is this thing popping? Can it pop?
Is it? But I don't want to sound Pollyanna about it, but you know what? Some people will ask, if that's the case, if this doesn't work out, did they have enough time together? Do they need to run it back next year with increased health?
Are you ever going to get increased health?
Look, I'm all over the place on this, and we've talked about expectations at the beginning of a season, regardless of what sport you're talking about. If you have no expectations and the team that you are talking about exceeds the low level of expectations you had, your expectations change. I don't think it works in reverse. When you've got really high expectations and you fail to meet those expectations, I'm not one of those people that diminishes my expectations. I thought when the Phoenix Suns made the Kevin Durant trade and followed it up by the Bradley Beal trade, it was championship or bust. So I can't work off that. So if it does fall short of that, yeah, it's a massive disappointment.
Yes. Yeah, listen, and the question of do they need more time? I don't think people are going to look at it that way. That might be reasonable. It might be logical. Maybe you do need more than 35, 40 games, but they're not going to want to hear that. People are not digging this basketball team. I'll tell you that. I've heard from people who are ticked off that Grayson Allen joined the victory circle of the Bucks. Those are his old teammates, his old friends. People are ticked off that Frank Vogel was smiling and hugging Doc Rivers after that game in Milwaukee. Every little thing now is bothering Suns fans about this team because they are so passive and they are so disjointed at times.
Something is going to be the quote-unquote scapegoat of this season if they flame out in the first or second round or play in or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It's either going to be they didn't have the right pieces around them and they're going to completely remake the roster around the big three. It's either going to be the big three, which they can't do anything to change, or it's going to be the coach.
It's going to be the head coach, or they're going to have to determine whether or not this was a bad match between head coach and basketball team, or if this is just a bad roster. And then when you look at the roster, as we played a little snippet earlier in the Bill Simmons podcast with Ryan Russillo, why is a team that has Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and the best shooting three-point guy in the league, why are they struggling?
Grayson Allen and Nurkic have been better than we thought they would this season.
And you're adding them to those three players. Why isn't this better?
It's a mind-boggling dilemma that they're in. It really doesn't make any sense, and that's kind of the conclusion that Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo came to, and we're trying to figure it out as well. Now, back to Isaiah Thomas. We've talked about, what does he bring from a basketball standpoint? And with all due respect to Eddie Johnson, he's talking, and he mentioned, look, we know what he did when he was with the Suns. That was 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago.
I know.
What we know is missing, one of the elements that seems to be missing from the Suns is a feistiness, an edge, a hunger at times. Look, regardless of what Isaiah Thomas has left in the tank, we know he's going to bring.
He's going to have all attitude.
All of those three things.
Oh yeah.
No, and maybe that's the influx they're looking for. Maybe it's not so much on what he can do on the court.
Maybe it's waking everybody up and creating a different vibe in that room. Listen,
getting into somebody and motivating them to be better than they've been.
Yeah. It's very, very true, and it's something where the big failure of this basketball team, it might be the coach, it might be the intangibles, it might be the wrong mix of where's the fury, where's the edge, where's the bad guy. Say hello to the bad guy.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.